So many people searching Google for the word bubble, the investment case for South Africa, and your shapeshifter tonight, the founder of the Go One online teaching platform, Melvin Lobega. All of that to come, but first, the very latest Eyewitness News.
Good evening, I'm Mikey Mulapo. The Jacob Zuma Foundation says it's awaiting a briefing from the former president's legal team following a court ruling ordering him to repay the state nearly 29 million rand in legal fees. Zuma suffered a setback in the Gauteng High Court today after it ruled that he is personally liable for legal expenses in the long-running arms deal corruption case. Zuma had argued the state was justified in footing his legal bill because the corruption charges arose from actions performed in his capacity as a government official. Alfara Mushana has more.
In 2021, the Supreme Court of Appeal ruled that the state attorney's payments covering former President Jacob Zuma's legal fees were unlawful. The court found that the state attorney's mandate is to act on behalf of the government and not to fund the private defense of an individual. Zuma argued in the High Court that the Supreme Court of Appeal did not explicitly state that he should personally repay the funds. However, the High Court today ruled that Zuma must indeed reimburse the state. DA spokesperson Willie Okamp says Zuma must comply with the judgment.
Since 2018, Mr. Zuma has evaded repaying millions in legal fees that the state should not have paid on his behalf in the first place. Mr. Zuma has benefited from this 28.9 million rand in taxpayer money over the past 7 years.
The Jacob Zuma Foundation says it will comment after receiving a briefing from his legal team. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News.
We move to the Western Cape, where the EFF Youth Command says its members will be back at Milnerton High School in Cape Town tomorrow to stage another protest. Several political parties today met with Milnerton High School management to demand feedback related to the assault of grade 10 learner by a group of older boys at the school. The ANC, SACP and COSATU joined the EFF Youth Command in a protest outside the school this afternoon. Police used stun grenades earlier to prevent the protesters from entering the school, and concerned parents could be seen escorting their children home. Carla Peterson has more.
EFF Youth Command convener Simamkele Mteli joined a group of members from the ANC, SACP and COSATU to meet with the school's management for feedback related to the assault case. The school indicated an internal investigation is underway and 8 grade 11 learners have since been suspended. Mtele says they are not happy with the feedback.
We won't stop here. We will take further actions. We will be here again tomorrow morning to ensure that this school, nothing must operate as normal.
Mkele says the school still needs to explain why no action was taken until a video of the incident went viral on social media yesterday. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News at Milnerton High School.
Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi says he has been served legal papers to reverse the suspension of health HOD Lisiba Malotana. Lesufi suspended Malotana last week after he failed a lifestyle audit that was conducted by the Special Investigating Unit. A comprehensive forensic investigation has now been launched into Malotana's lifestyle. Speaking at a media briefing today, Lesufi says the decision to place Malotana on precautionary suspension was the correct one.
I received legal papers from people from representing the HOD of the department, requesting me in 48 hours to withdraw the suspension of the HOD. I told them to jump to the nearest lake. 48 hours have passed. I've not even seen their papers.
The investigating officer in the murder case of Vereniging engineer Armand Swart believes Katiso KT Molefe's nephew, Lucky Molefe, is the main culprit who orchestrated Swart's murder. In the time leading to Swart's murder on April 17th last year, Lucky Molefe was an employee of Transnet Freight Rail. He has been identified as the inside man who crooked the system to allow the awarding of a multi-million rand tender to a company known as SK Group. SK Group acquired products from Swart's company, Q-Tech, and then inflated the prices by more than 4,000% when selling them to Transnet. Arun Singh has more.
An internal investigation by Transnet allegedly put pressure on Lucky Molefe to take drastic action. This is according to the investigating officer in the murder case of Vereniging engineer Armand Swart. Witness B alleges that Lucky Molefe, nephew to Katiso KT Molefe, crooked the books in awarding a 1.2 million rand tender to a little-known company called the SK Group. At the time, Lucky Molefe was an employee of Transnet Freight Rail and colluded with his cousin Tapelo KT's son to pull off their grand scheme.
When the money was paid now to this SK, the whole amount is transferred to Thapelo Mlife's account, and Thapelo Mlife is the one paying people.
She says the director of SK Group was paid a fraction of what the tender was worth.
He's getting as little as 30,000 out of 1.2.
Lucky Molefe, currently in hiding, is wanted in connection with Swart's murder. Arun Singh, Eyewitness News.
Witness B has concluded her testimony for the day but will return to the inquiry tomorrow. And the Home Affairs Department has announced plans to deliver passports to South African citizens living abroad. The service is set to go live on the 1st of November and will afford expats an option to select courier delivery for their passports. The milestone was announced by Home Affairs Minister Leon Schreiber at The Hague in the Netherlands. Thandolile Ngcobo has the details.
For the first time, the Home Affairs Department will allow clients to choose courier delivery for critical documents, eliminating the need for a second visit to collect them in person. The service, which will exclusively be rolled out to South Africans living abroad, allows the department to fine-tune the process before expanding it to local clients. From the 1st of November, passport courier delivery will be available at all new Home Affairs service centers worldwide. The department says turnaround times will range between 24 and 72 hours, with courier fees set between $30 and $60. It's added that the service will initially operate in 18 cities globally, with additional centers expected to open in the coming months. Thandolile Ngcobo, Eyewitness News.
Gold's trading at $4,033.77 an ounce. The rand at 17.40 to the dollar, at 23.27 to the pound, at 20.21 to the euro. Brent crude oil at $62.83 a barrel.
And in your sport, qualifying kicks off for Women's AFCON as Banyana against DR Congo. Betway Premiership and UEFA Champions League to indulge later this evening. And Proteas in second test control after dismissing Pakistan's top order in the final session of day 3.
Look at your weather. A sunny Thursday in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Joburg will drop to overnight lows of 11 degrees and peak at highs of 27. Pretoria starts at 13, reaching highs of 28. Vereniging's at 11, reaching highs of 27 degrees. A partly cloudy start for Cape Town. Otherwise, it's clear skies with moderate northwesterly winds at a low of 17 and a high of 22 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. The Jacob Zuma Foundation says it is awaiting a briefing from the former president's legal team following a court ruling ordering him to repay the state nearly 29 million rand in legal fees.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. EWN Traffic.
Well, in the Boksburg area heading towards Benoni, we still have that accident scene. This is on the N12 eastbound. N12 eastbound before Atlas Road, causing about a 30-minute delay all the way from the R21 Rietfontein off-ramp. Still in Boksburg, Sunwood Park area, bumper-to-bumper traffic also due to roadworks. This is on the N17 eastbound between Rondebolt and Carnival City. Heading into Soweto Southgate, traffic a bit sluggish on the N12 westbound approaching the M1 Uncle Charlie's interchange. Also bumper-to-bumper traffic driving through Parktown through the Joburg CBD, M1 southbound between Killarney Bends and the Crown interchange. Also heavy delays in the Mother City heading heading into the Cape Town CBD. This is on the elevated freeway. Expect some delays. N1 outbound approaching Belleville. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
And now, The Money Show
with Stephen Grootes on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA CIB, proud sponsor of the ABSA Africa Financial Markets Index 2025. Good evening, I'm Stephen Grootes. We'll hear from the CEO at Famous Brands, Darren Healy, in just a moment. Lots of changes going on with the fast food business. Lots of pressure on consumer spending as well, some of it because of online gambling. I'm sure he'll have a view. I noticed that Eskom has removed the engineer requirement to sign off on your solar panel installation on top of your house. It was always, for me, such a silly requirement in the first place. What did Eskom think was going to happen? No one was going to spend more money proving to Eskom that they were providing their own electricity. Thanks very much. That's how it felt. I just got a sense Eskom just did not read the room. We'll hear from Professor Vali Padiachi and Wayne Duvenage on that in the next few moments. Also, more on the idea of, and so many people are talking about this, could there be a bubble in AI? Isaac Oordendal from Symmetry. I'm really looking forward to his conversation just after 6:30. And then also the SA Tomorrow Investor Conference. Gulam Balam, you know him from Standard Bank, the chief economist there. There's a lot to look at in terms of what is changing, what is not changing in our economy, and how do you sort of make a dent in the fight for global capital? Do you heard the story in the EWN Bulletin, the Home Affairs Minister confirming for the first time you will be able to have a passport actually delivered to you at your home? Never really happened before in South Africa, and it reminded me today I did something I haven't done for 5 years. I started the process of applying for a driver's license card. My card will expire at the end of December. I don't want to sort of be caught out driving over the Christmas period without a driver's license. I'm very aware I'm going to need to get a temporary license as well. And 5 years ago, when I did this, it took a long time to get a booking. I eventually found a place. It was in the south of Joburg. I went and queued and took much of the day. And then to get my license, they decided to open them on a Saturday. This was during the pandemic. And I remember getting there on a Saturday at about 6:30 one morning with a camping chair, breakfast, some work, and a book. And I waited. And when they opened, they were surprised to see me. I wasn't the only one queuing by then, I can tell you. I was quite tempted to rent out my camping chair by that point. I could have made some money. And eventually I got my card. That's how difficult it was. This time, I went online. Everybody told me to go to Waterfall. So, okay, look at that. Made an appointment. It all took 10 seconds. A few minutes later, I got an email confirming the appointment. It was a bit like booking an air flight. Seemed too simple, too good to be true from government. I'll let you know how it pans out. My question to you, though, is your latest interaction with government. Was it better or worse? Is there an improvement? Home Affairs seems to be improving. Certainly my experience of just booking a driver's license card application, a renewal in Gauteng, is improving. What's it like for you? 011 883 0702 021 446 0567 and voice notes tonight on 072 702 1702.
The Money Show
with Stephen Grootes, live on 92.7 and 106 FM. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app
and DSTV channel 856.
The fast food restaurant group Famous Brands confirming today it's still expanding. It opened 53 outlets during the 6 months to the end of August. Its headline earnings per share were up by 8% and it made a profit of just under 400 million rand. All of this in not a great economy. The CEO at Famous Brands is Darren Healy. Darren, good evening. Your revenue is up. Your number of outlets is up. How much momentum are you feeling in your operations at the moment?
Yeah, we're definitely feeling momentum, Stephen, so thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. And we're probably focusing more on the green shoots we see than anything else, but saying that we have obviously come off the back of some tough times in our trading environment. But yeah, we definitely feel the momentum on new stores is positive. The consumer's still under pressure, so we've got some work to do on like-for-like sales. But again, there's some activity there, and people are definitely getting out and about, which is positive for our business.
Are there particular places you're concentrating on for your new outlets? Are there areas that you think actually there's a lot of growth here? Maybe, I don't know, maybe Bombela, maybe parts of Joburg that you think, well, actually, we could get a lot of growth here?
We focus nationally, so the whole of South Africa remains an opportunity for us, as does SADC. But as a general principle, really trying to be where people are, whether it's live, work, or play, and that has changed over the last couple of years. But we are seeing a trend where people are getting back to, let's call it office work or domiciled work. And we're trying to get into those places particularly as well as people's habits have changed. So probably less than what you've seen over the years in terms of big shopping centres, but more smaller suburban areas, drive-through opportunities particularly. So with a bias towards convenience, essentially.
That lunchtime trade, which I presume is what you get, the biggest benefit for you is the lunchtime trade, I'm sure, from people going back to a workplace. How important is that? I mean, it does seem now most workplaces are demanding you have to actually be at the workplace 3, 4, 5 days a week.
Yeah, look, it's a big occasion. I mean, it's probably one of the bigger occasions in terms of not necessarily transaction size, but transactions, across the industry. I mean, obviously dinner is a big occasion, but particularly lunch is singular. So yeah, it is an important occasion, and of course it's time constrained, and generally people are looking for a value equation. I mean, some employers are starting to provide those kind of facilities in-house to get people back to work as well. So we are competing with, I suppose, a new phase, and of course delivery convenience, which you've always been in. But yeah, it's definitely the occasion that everybody's chasing, Stephen. Correct.
Food prices beginning to tick up slightly, according to the Stats SA release today. How important is price for your customers in this current environment, especially, Darren, I don't need to remind you, when you do face competition?
Yeah, look, pricing is essential. I suppose value as important, but I mean, price is one of the key equations of value. So yeah, I mean, look, we all suffer with it, so it's not just a famous brands issue. We all have to work within the inflationary bounds. Unfortunately, it has started ticking up quite notably. We think primarily driven by beef from what we've seen, which is quite challenging. So yeah, we just have to keep thinking about how we, engineer products in terms of the value of them and, portion size, and of course that bundle offering, whether it be with a drink or without a drink, as an example. So constantly our people are thinking around that and how we work through it. But generally, people are still looking for good quality food, obviously at affordable prices. But competition is always intense in this category, but it's not something we're unfamiliar with. It's always been a competitive category, and as people come in, they do exit as well. So it's got lots of entrants, but there are players who exit the category.
There's been a lot of attention in the home delivery market. Are you seeing that area still growing? I mean, the number of motorbikes coming to pick something up from your outlets, is that still going up?
Yeah, we're still seeing growth, albeit at a lower level than we had historically, and we're mindful that we probably are competing with a new sphere. It's not just pizza joint versus pizza joint. I mean, we are competing in the home meal replacement sector too. So you may choose not to get a pizza, but rather the ingredients from a supermarket. So we're competing there. But out of home consumption continues to grow, and of course in home delivery will be a vehicle to supplement that need. So we are getting the growth on the one side, but we're getting the competitor that we probably didn't have classically in that space. But I think it's all good for growth. It's probably not great for bricks and mortar retail into the future, but we wait and see.
You made the point our economy is not growing very strongly. I mean, is consumer spending still under pressure? We had kind of thought, a couple of interest rate cuts, things might be a little bit better by now, but that's not the case.
No, unfortunately not. I mean, interest rates is something that we watch because it does affect our business, as does the petrol price. So we had some nice movement on both of those, and we actually saw it. We could see things moving along. We could see some activity. So yeah, unfortunately, that kind of stimulant seems to have stopped, and we can see that in some of the data, particularly in mid-month, where we're seeing where government employees typically get paid. That peak in the middle of the month has definitely slowed down from what it was prior to those variables coming down.
You suggested as famous brands in your last annual report, this was earlier in the year, that online gambling was eating into consumer spending, and I'm sure, Darren, that got a lot of attention. Gambling, I presume, has only increased since then. Are you seeing a material impact from online gambling? People are spending money on that for whatever reason rather than spending it on outlets like yours?
Yeah, look, I was also glad to find out that people do read the annual report, so that was one positive. But gambling is a very, I suppose, sensitive subject around the way that it's proliferated people's lives currently. So that hasn't changed. And to your point, I think it's probably accelerated. You just have to look at the amount of advertising, and we compete for advertising space and what's going on to know that the numbers are off the charts. And of course, a bet probably depends what you do, can cost the same as a hamburger or an ice cream. So we compete in the same space, unfortunately, and we will get to a point of stabilization, but I don't think we're there yet. I don't think it's taken up its share of consumer spend and stabilized. Like things like Lotto did many years ago, it's no different, but it is definitely on a massive trajectory. And we can see it in research, we can see it in customer engagement, so it's definitely here to stay.
Darren, thanks very much indeed. Darren Healy is the Chief Executive at Famous Brands.
Beyond every boardroom is a story waiting to be written. A story of a business and its potential, of a community that thrives, a hospital that serves, and energy that powers millions of dreams. It's a story that only gets better with a partner that has the expertise and solutions to make it a reality. At ABSA CIB, we are invested in your story, and we invite you to write it with us, because your story matters. ABSA, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Running a business can feel like a solo mission. I mean, you've got the hustle. If only your office Wi-Fi was your employee of the month. Turn on your success with Telkom Business, the partner that always shows up. Get a reliable 25 by 25 megabytes per second connection with Stream Connect Fiber for only 489 rands per month.
This summer, your business deserves the best. Visit telkom.co.za/business for deals that connect your business. T's and C's apply. Telkom Business. Possible begins here.
As the world's leaders meet for the G20 summit in Johannesburg, the eyes of the world will be upon us. Not just to South Africa, but Africa. It's the very first time that this summit has been held on our continent. What the world will see is a country building infrastructure that improves the lives of its people and lives up to the summit's themes of solidarity, equality, and sustainability. SANRAL's investment and projects ensure that we undertake this journey together with our neighbors. The N4 Maputo Corridor project stimulates trade to Maputo in Mozambique. The upgrade extends along the N4 to the Trans-Kalahari Corridor, growing trade for Botswana. The N7 from the Cape to Namibia is growing cross-border commerce, and the N1 project facilitates trade with Zimbabwe. The world will see an Africa that's building a better continent through roads. SANRAL, an agency of the Department of Transport.
702. Stephen is on The Money Show.
6 to 8 p.m.
22 after 6. Good evening. Confirmation from Eskom now. If you are a direct Eskom customer and you have a solar installation on your roof, you no longer need a certified engineer to sign off on it, but can use a normal electrician so long as they're registered with the Department of Labour. Professor Vali Pariachi is a power and energy expert and a former executive manager at Eskom and a senior executive at City Power. Vali, good evening. It seemed to me that, well, it never made sense to me, at least, that a certified engineer had to sign off on this. Are you comfortable a certified and registered electrician has the expertise to do this properly?
Good evening, Stephen, and thank you for inviting me to your show. Let me answer the question very quickly from a different angle. As to why, in the first place, we required let's call it an XR registered engineering professional, whether it's a technologist or an engineer, to sign off. That came about because inter alia that all, let's call it SSEG, that gets attached to the grid has to be done safely. And safely is pronounced, and to keep it simple, by the usage of standards that can be defended in a court of law. Now, in 2021, I'm going to get to the point. 2021, one of the crucial standards, because there are various standards, you get them from Department of Labour, South African Bureau of Standards, and other laws. But there was a crucial South African Bureau of Standard, let me name it, Stand 10142-1-2, that pronounced on the safety of these SSEG systems was withdrawn. And unfortunately, Stephen, that standard has never been reenacted after 4 years. So SANS has not come to the party, SADS. So in that absence of that particular standard, there was a gap in the market to pronounce on safety of those SSEG systems. And hence, to play it safe, to make it safe, the need for an XR registered professional, different categories, was brought into play.
Okay, so Vali, I'm
That's
sorry to interrupt. I think to anyone with a solar system, all they want to know is it safe to have an electrician do it rather than an engineer? Never mind. I think, frankly, people don't care about the paperwork. They should, but is it safe? Is all they really want to know.
Well, let me quickly answer. Up to certain categories, up to 1 MVA, yes, it would be safe. I would argue, to keep it simple, maybe up to 30 kilowatts. But beyond 30 kilowatts, in the absence of this standard, Stephen, that I just alluded to, there was a need for that. But once this standard is reenacted, then, and if that standard says that the electrician is required, then so be it.
Professor Vali Pariachi, thank you. Power and energy expert. Really appreciate it. Wayne Duvenage is the CEO at Organisation Undoing Tax Abuse. Wayne, good evening. I mean, there was outrage when Eskom insisted that an engineer would have to do this. It wasn't always entirely their fault, as Professor Pariachi has explained. Is Eskom finally seeing sense here? Do you think we're finally getting an outbreak of common sense?
Yes. Yeah, we believe so. We've had 2 meetings with them. In fact, this week we had a 3.5-hour meeting with them, and I think they are realizing that there was a bit of overkill. There are tens of thousands of these systems installed. It's not a safety issue, quite frankly. And this SANS requirements for COC from electrician sign-off is more than adequate. And thankfully, they've come to their senses. We are also engaging with them on whether the cost of the conversion from prepaid to smart meters, which they want for SSEG installations to happen. And we think, there's nothing wrong with switching to a home flex tariff, which is a time of use type of tariff. But there's another cost that's there, which we're asking them to really consider, that this should be picked up by Eskom switching over to smart meters, because it's in their benefit as well. And I think they're thinking seriously about that. You might see some announcements of that and an extension on the deadline coming in due course. So they are listening, and this is an evolutionary process. And it's good that they can engage with civil society and change these onerous conditions. So this is a good move.
I mean, I lost count of the number of times I was asked the question around a braai as to why Eskom was trying to charge people for a solar panel. It wasn't quite that simple. The point was that people felt Eskom was working against them.
Yeah, and they know that they can't stop this process. People are having to become self-sufficient in energy production because it's just become too expensive. And they realize that they've got to work with the civil society and society and not against them, and they are coming around to that. So this is a good move on their behalf, and let's see if we can improve on the other conditions that are still in place.
Wayne Duvenage, thank you, CEO at Outer.
The Money Show.
The markets.
Chris Stewart's portfolio manager at 91. Chris, good evening. Gold down again, second day in a row. Is the great gold rally over?
Well, Stephen, if we look at where gold has come from, and I found it quite an interesting statistic or set of statistics today. Gold was anchored at $35 an ounce when the Bretton Woods system was first put in place. It took 38 years for gold to get through $1,000 an ounce. That happened in 2008, and another 12 years to go through $2,000 an ounce in 2020, and then 4 more years to get through $3,000 an ounce earlier this year. And then the move from $3,000 to $4,000 an ounce took exactly 60 days. So the gold price has gone up almost asymptotically, and for good reason. I mean, there's plenty of reasons to still believe in gold as a store of value, particularly given the extent of government debt in the US and the potential for I guess, monetary debasement to try and get themselves out of a debt fix in the US. So all of the arguments that exist for gold remain. That said, gold has gone up asymptotically. Gold stocks have more than doubled in a very short space of time, and as a result of that, one should and has seen a correction. How long that correction persists is anybody's guess. To call the bottom of the sell-off in gold is going to be very, very difficult indeed. But the fundamental argument for holding gold in a portfolio remains exactly where it finds its level, and where indeed the gold stocks, which are always a geared play on the way up and indeed on the way down, find their level is going to be a little bit more difficult. But I don't think gold as an asset class is over, no.
An update from Quilter today, really a British asset management company. Their assets under management up by 7%.
Yep. I mean, obviously coming out of the old mutual stable historically, which is why we still have interest and why it's listed on our exchange as well. But a good trading update from Quilter, benefiting, I guess, from two factors. One is the fact that markets have been strong, and as a result, the assets under management at Quilter have gone up by virtue of that. And all asset managers and wealth managers across the globe are experiencing the benefit of rising markets at the moment, but also, and perhaps more importantly, they've seen, again, positive net inflows into their, onto their platform, into their various funds over the period, amounting to about 6 or 7% on an annualized basis of their assets under management. And that's a good outcome and better, I think, than most in the market were looking for. And that's been reflected in a reasonably positive reception to the trading update today.
Our inflation, 3.4%, slightly above the Reserve Bank's kind of self-imposed target of the lower end of 3%.
Yeah, I mean, I think the expectation was that it would tick up to 3.4. I think core inflation coming in about maybe 10 basis points higher than expected, and that looks to be largely on the back of the owner's equivalent rent category, surprising slightly on the upside. So, we've got a pretty hawkish central bank, probably looking for an excuse not to reduce rates further at the November MPC meeting. So maybe this gives them enough to kick for touch still, and maybe pushes further rates relief into the 2026 calendar year.
Thanks very much indeed, Chris Stewart, Portfolio Manager at 91. Just after 6:30, time for the latest Eyewitness News.
Thanks, Stephen. Good evening. We begin in the Western Cape, where firefighters of the Cape Winelands District Municipality are currently working to contain two fires in Langenburg and Witzenberg, respectively. The first fire, burning just 5 kilometers from Robertson, is currently concentrated on a hill, but is reportedly slowly making its way to town. Motorists are advised not to stop and watch to avoid obstructing emergency vehicles. The second fire is burning in a veld just above Elandsrivier Farm outside Op die Berg. The municipality's Joanne Otto.
A digger loader has been deployed to assist with the creation of a fire break in an effort to prevent the fire from spreading onto agricultural land. All firefighting teams are operating under extremely challenging conditions, with temperatures exceeding 36 degrees.
Disgruntled residents of the Denver informal settlement in Johannesburg are complaining that they were not alerted that there would be demolition of structures in the area today. The Metro's Human Settlements Department began its audit of tenants and the removal of illegal structures in the inner city. Human Settlements MMC Mlungi Simabaso says most of the shelters in the area are used for illegal activities. This frustrated resident says there has been no communication of any relocation plans.
They did not say anything. There was nothing that was said. They just demolished. That's all they did. And then they said where they have not demolished, they will put in electricity.
Deputy Higher Education Minister Mimi Gondwe says it's premature to suggest that the University of Fort Hare be placed under administration. Answering questions in the National Assembly this afternoon, Gondwe said the department would only consider next steps once it had received a detailed report from the university on the allegations that sparked the unrest earlier this month. She says Minister Buti Manamela has also set up a task team led by Professor Ahmed Bauer to engage students, staff and other stakeholders. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
2 weeks since buildings were torched on the university's Dikeni campus, Parliament's Higher Education Portfolio Committee yesterday visited the institution to inspect the damage. Today, the MK Party's Sihle Ngubane questioned whether the institution should not be placed under administration. The DA's Dalmain Christians, meanwhile, wanted to know about early intervention, where there are already known tensions following unrest at a number of institutions this year. In response, Deputy Minister Mimi Gondwe said Minister Buti Manamela had met with university vice-chancellors yesterday to establish regular meetings with them.
Those meetings are intended to ensure that we are ready for the 2026 academic year, but obviously the meetings would serve as a platform for vice-chancellors to flag any issues at their institutions.
A war room has also been established to monitor and detect problems on campuses. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
And Turkey and Qatar are intensifying efforts to preserve the fragile Gaza ceasefire. Leaders from the two nations are meeting in Doha today as diplomatic and intelligence chiefs coordinate to prevent renewed fighting. Turkish intelligence officials met Hamas officials in Doha last night, a day before top-level talks between Turkey's president and his Qatar counterpart. All meetings were behind closed doors, with both sides cautious to avoid jeopardizing what diplomats say is a highly sensitive phase in the ceasefire. A look at your weather. Clear sunny skies in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Temperatures will drop to overnight lows between 11 and 13 degrees and peak at alternating highs of 27 and 28 degrees. A partly cloudy start for the mother city. Otherwise, it's clear skies as well, with moderate northwesterly winds at a low of 17 and a high of 22 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News. Firefighters at the Cape Winelands District Municipality are currently working to contain two fires in Langenburg and Witzenberg, respectively.
EWN Traffic.
In Sunwood Park, Boksburg, we still have bumper-to-bumper traffic. This is due to roadworks on the N17 eastbound between Rondebolt and Carnival City. Also traveling through the Calvin Alex area heading towards Germiston. Expect delays due to roadworks on the N3 southbound between the Butler Interchange and London Road. Also traveling through the Joburg CBD. Traffic remains sluggish. M1 south between Killarney Bends and the Crown Interchange. In the mother city, slow-moving traffic. N1 outbound approaching Belleville. Also bumper-to-bumper traffic on the M5 southbound. This is between Pinelands and Kenilworth. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Remember when everyone thought NFTs were the future of modern art? When non-fungible was a buzzword used in boardrooms to justify buying pixels, and the metaverse was just months away, and that we'll all be living in our virtual mansions, admiring our digital paintings, only to realize they were just expensive JPEGs. When you can't trust a trend, trust a 30-year track record of outperforming benchmarks.
Coronation. Trust is earned. Coronation is an authorized FSP.
One degree defines you as a master of business, the MBA. The life-changing Gibbs MBA empowers you to lead an organization or start your own business within the dynamic African context. Choose from 90 electives and 8 focus areas: general management, entrepreneurship, consulting, manufacturing, digital, humane leadership, healthcare, and climate leadership. For our next information session, go to gibbs.co.za/MBA. Gibbs is a Triple Crown internationally accredited business school in Ilovo, Sandton.
Small businesses are anything but small. They're the backbone of our communities, the dreamers, the doers, the ones who keep Mzansi moving forward. That's why 702 and Capitec Business Banking are putting them in the spotlight. Every Thursday between 6 and 8 p.m. catch Small Business Focus with Capitec, where we showcase the hustle, heart, and the secrets to thriving in today's economy. Your vision matters, and with Capitec, you're never building it alone. Small Business Focus with Capitec, the business bank for everyone. Thursdays between 6 and 8 p.m. on 702. Capitec Bank is an authorized FSP 46669. WhatsApp Stephen
on 072
702
1702.
22 minutes now to 7 the time. I was asking you your latest experience, your last experience with government. I was online this morning, online most of the day, I suppose, but booking an interview, whatever you call it, an appointment for a driver's license card. Why I need to actually go and do it, I don't know, but that's the way it is. And I was pleasantly surprised with the online interface. Your experience of government.
Good evening, Stephen. You need not worry about your driver's license, I don't think. I got mine in 6 weeks here in Roodepoort. I went in August, and about the end of September, I had my license. I didn't even have to get a temporary license. Nicholas, Florida.
Good evening, Stephen. I don't know if it's an efficiency thing regarding the license, but Waterfall guys, they have something going on there. I've went there 15 minutes in and out, my wife as well, in and out. They are so efficient. Thank you.
It's Kevin here from Centurion. There's a secret office in Centurion that's open 7 days a week between 7 in the morning and 9 at night. And I've interacted with them twice over the last 3 or 4 years. And if you get there at 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning, you're literally the only person there, no booking needed. They help you with a smile on your face, and you walk out 5 minutes later. And same process when you go fetch your license. But when you get the SMS, you pitch there, it's Sunday at 11 o'clock. Only person there, 5 minutes later you walk out. So if you really want to know where it is, it's in the Gateway Centre in John Foster Avenue in Centurion. Cheers, bye.
Driver license renewals. You need to try, I think it's called Witch Hazel in Pretoria area. I went in there. The experience was amazing, as well as the experience when I collected it a short time later. I can only say on a rating, I gave them 5 out of 5. It's one of the best interactions I've ever had from any business I've dealt with anywhere in South Africa. It was amazing. The government can do it. Bye.
Well, thank you for that. That's very heartening. I mean, for lots of reasons. One, for me personally, I booked the appointment for 7:30 in the morning because I'm so used to being panicked by whatever I have to do with government. I just booked the whole day. That's what I did. Now I'm feeling a bit stupish about that. I love the idea. Thank you for that. There's the secret driver's license center. The Netflix documentary is kind of there. There's the special agent inspector. There's the sort of secret receptionist. It's great. Thank you for that. No, I really appreciate that. Lots of people talking about that. Okay, that is very interesting. Dominique actually messaging in response to those voice notes saying, if only the Department of Labour could learn for that. I'm waiting for 2 months to get a letter of good standing. Yeah, that's astonishing, actually. So, yes, thank you for those. It does show, and this is important, it does show that government, A, can be good, and B, can improve. And that really matters. I remember where we were 3-4 years ago, where I think the Gauteng Transport MEC, was it Jacob Mamabolo at the time, said you probably couldn't get a license in Gauteng without paying someone money. That was the way he said it. Like you had to be involved in, you had to do something. So I'm very, very heartened with that. Maybe different to get the license, but certainly the license card. Look, government can be better. Let's put the pressure on and keep it going. 18 minutes now to 7.
EWN Sport.
Anthony Trosheda, our women need to be better tonight.
Good evening, Stephen. Yes, while there is kickoff in Kinshasa with the first leg of the 2026 Women's Africa Cup of Nations qualifier, where we have Banyana still goalless with DR Congo. Coach Desiree Ellis not part of this, as assistant Tina Sonke Mbuli is taking charge. Return leg is next week, Wednesday, at the Orlando Stadium, with a spot on the line at the Showpiece in Morocco. Later in the evening, we have a triple header in the Betway Premiership. Orlando Pirates up against Polokwane City. Stellenbosch meets Golden Arrows, and Kaizer Chiefs face Suelele. Co-coaches Cedric Kaze and Khalil Ben Yusuf weren't mentioned by former coach Nazruddin Nabi in his farewell letter to the club and supporters. Kaze wouldn't be drawn into commenting on whether there was bad blood between them.
About that, I don't have any comment. And I worked with Coach Nabi for 3 seasons. I wish him very well. I told him that, and I hope that he's gonna find something that suits him in the near future, and I wish him all the best.
All 3 games kicking off at 7:30, while selected UEFA Champions League fixtures will see Real Madrid playing Juventus. Eintracht Frankfurt are hosting Liverpool. Chelsea face Ajax. The remaining match day 3 of UEFA Champions League also concluding with Spurs in Monaco, Bayern playing Club Brugge. A Reds boss, he's spoken on a 4-match losing streak that Liverpool currently have. He has on a slot.
It should not matter if we win or lose a game of football for the next one. The aim is, if you play for Liverpool, if you wear this shirt, is to win every single game. So if we win 7 in a row, how we started the season, now we've lost the last 4. So now, of course, we want to see Liverpool winning again. But like I said, that is not different than when you lost 4 in a row or when you won 4 in a row. But it is just what is expected of you if you play for Liverpool.
In cricket, Pakistan will start day 4 with a 23-run second innings lead against South Africa in the second test. The Proteas piled the pressure on as Simon Harper took 3 for wickets, while we also saw Kagiso Rabada picking up another as the host scrambled to 94 for 4. Throughout day 3, we witnessed brilliant half-centuries from Senuran Mutusami and Kagiso Rabada. Mutusami spoke about their 98-run 10th-wicket partnership.
KG was exemplary. It was an innings of the highest standard. I think the ball striking in those conditions was superb. He's such a naturally free flowing batter. Yeah, I ended up playing a bit of a supporting role, as the innings went on, because he was just seeing it so nicely and hitting it so clean.
And Australia are top of the Women's Cricket World Cup group thanks to a 6-wicket victory over England. That result has left the Proteas women second on the log, and a straight fight between the pair will happen for top spot when they meet Saturday. Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
It is said that listening to Mozart could boost intelligence. So we at RMB bought this extended radio spot to give you 30 seconds of Mozart just to get some thinking done. That was nice, huh? Just some time to think. Well, that is precisely what we do at RMB. Invest in the time to think of smarter solutions for our clients. RMB. Solutionists love company. RMB is a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Rent up. Food up. Electricity up. Everything up, up, up. Except demos at Motor Select. This Friday and Saturday only, we're bringing prices down on demo models from leading brands. Trade your car in and get up to 100,000 Rand trade-in assist in our Demo Deal Dash. 2 days only. Visit SA's largest dealer network at motorselect.co.za to shop our demo range.
You can become a victim of a legal problem. Wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA CIB, proud sponsor of the ABSA Africa Financial Markets Index 2025.
Well, good to hear from you tonight, and certainly interesting just to hear so many positive thoughts about an interaction with government. This was sparked by the Home Affairs Minister saying today that, in fact, he is planning a system where you would be able to get your passport would be mailed to you. One wonders if that's where it's kind of going to end with so many government services. Many other countries do that, as far as I know. There's sort of no reason why you should have to go and fetch something in person. I'm not really sure what you gain for that. Some of the details in the inflation numbers were very interesting today. And we've made the point many times that coffee inflation's been very high for a very long time. Still at 12%. Eggs are cheaper than they were. Maize meal, though, does worry me because maize meal inflation is still over 9%. And that surely must be concerning for everyone because it is such a basic, such an important foodstuff. I mean, it's a bit like the bread price. You know, these are the things that you don't want to go up. Coffee you can live without. Well, I'm told you can. But these things you really can't. And that, for me, does worry me. On the other hand, was very pleased to see that eggs, really a very cheap form of protein, are cheaper than they used to be. But the whole inflation picture, I fear, might be about to become sort of political again. And I say this because inflation, 3.4%, if the Reserve Bank's governing monetary policy committee sticks to what it said it would do, and it really does have to stick to what it said it would do, otherwise there's no point in doing this, it said it would target the lower end of inflation. If it now decides, well, actually, it's going to target 3.5% or allow inflation of 3.4%, the whole idea of inflation expectations, the idea of credibility, will start to fall by the wayside, and that is one of the problems that we could face. More voice notes coming through tonight on 072 702 1702.
Hi, Stephen. I've actually used a waterfall. I think it's a provincial based out office twice and very efficient. They open 7 days a week up to 9 p.m. You walk in at 8 p.m. You are the only one. And today, also Home Affairs, they've started this thing of you have to make an appointment. So I booked an appointment a month ago, for passport, an ID, smart ID, and well, it was very busy, but within 2 hours I was done with both. Yeah, great. Yeah, great service.
Well, thank you for that. As I say, it's important to know that government can do good things, and that is vitally important. And I say that because what it does is it allows you to then put pressure on government to improve other things. If you're able to get this right, then surely you should be able to do other things right. I must just also make this point that so many people, their interaction with government is that face-to-face, I'm going to get a driver's license, or I'm trying to sort something out in the Department of Labour, as some people clearly are. And that then really does sort of remind you that actually that face of government matters. And if you get treated badly by the face of government, I mean, the number of hours of my life that I lost trying to get a trying to get a car license disc, which, go to a post office. I mean, I'm old enough to have gone actually to the issues where you go to the actual Gauteng department. It was in the middle of Joburg then, a long time ago. And you think to yourself, well, actually, this stuff should be simple. It's become simple now, but it used to be very, very difficult. Solomon on the line from Johannesburg. Solomon, hi. Your last interaction with government, how was it?
Absolutely terrible. I mean, I'll give it a 0 out of 10. And specifically with regard to Home Affairs, I went for a passport. It's terrible. I mean, when you go in, you have it's chaos as you enter, and then you've got kiosks to take your photograph. Then you have to go and pay. Then you have to go around, etc. I mean, everybody goes to a bank today. It's one-stop shop. You sit at a bank at a table, and you're getting your photograph taken, your biometrics taken, your KYC taken, and within a few minutes you're out. It cannot be that you still have a service like this that's completely driven by friction. Today, in a digital world, you want to have frictionless service, and in this particular case, it is still not there. And I had to wait 2 weeks for my passport. Now I'm dreading. I have to go to Alberton Home Affairs, and I know it's chaos because there you're going to just to pick up a passport. I went there again a day ago, and they said, guys, your waiting time is about close to 2.5 hours just to pick up a passport at Alberton, and that's crazy.
Wow.
And I'm 60 years old, and you're still just. And I said, but listen, I need to go in and pick this up. They said, no, you have to wait in this particular queue and do it. And then you've got all the touts coming up to you.
Yeah.
And the touts are then telling you, listen, if you pay some bucks up front, I'll be able to take you to the front of your queue just to pay it up. So, it's all about corruption that's still there. Somebody's making money in the queues, etc. And when you go and talk to the guy at the front there, he tells you, no, unfortunately, you have to follow the process of standing in the queue for this particular long. So I don't think the new minister, whether it's DA or not, has basically made any difference. It's all about talk. That it has not translated to any service delivery on the ground, and it's the same. So people keep on promising and committing. I know that they can't at that level be able to micromanage, but managing efficiency, they can definitely instill that, and it's still not happening.
So, Solomon, I mean, that's so interesting because I know someone who went to Cresta to fetch their passport a couple of weeks ago, and they came out saying, I'd put aside a whole morning for this, and it took me 10 seconds. So, Alberton, a completely different experience. And that, to me, from the way you describe it with people, coming up to you, it's like deliberate, right? They've created an opportunity for corruption. That's what it sounds like.
Absolutely. I mean, the reality is, unfortunately, we know that the cake is being sliced and diced at multiple levels all the way through, and now it permeates at this particular level as well. And the reality is this, it's really sad. I mean, I need a passport for business. I need to get out of the country and do things, and it's expired. It's now taken me 7 weeks to try and get this thing through. Even they talk about the branches. I tried through the banks that you just don't have enough bookings because there aren't that many banks that allow. I know they're now authorizing more banks to be able to come on, but at this particular point in time, even the appointments to try and get in some of the banks are a long wait. And at this particular point in time, for a province like Gauteng to have this in place, with the ministers just talking, I'm saying, Minister, with all due respect, and I'll call you Honourable Minister, just to make sure that there's respect in this case, but I still need to see you walk the talk rather than talking the talk at this particular point in time.
No, sure, Solomon. All right, I'm really sorry to hear that that's been your experience. And I mean, there's so many ways to do this quickly. Look, I know a lot is changing, and you can see that, but that's Solomon's experience. Other voice notes coming through.
The traffic licensing department in Ottery is, if not the best, among the best. It's on the corner of Plantation Road and Old Ottery Road. They are very efficient. The staff is well skilled. I'm a senior citizen and I was in, within a half an hour and I was out again. And my license was received a month later. No problem whatsoever. It's not the traffic department in Plantation Road. It's the actual licensing department in Ottery.
All right. Thank you very much indeed for that. Yeah, really appreciate those voice notes.
Sir, ma'am, may I take your order?
Yeah, let me get the New York cut, medium rare, truffle fries on the side, and the lady'll have the salmon. Grilled, not poached. 2 dirty martinis. Real dirty.
Leafy, what's with the voice?
Oh, I came over all Tony Soprano.
Get into character on a city break with Premier Hotels and Resorts. Stay Friday and Saturday and get Sunday night for free. Book now at premierhotels.co.za.
In a world where a lot can change in 6 years, you can rest assured knowing that Hino's 6-year drivetrain warranty won't. All Hino trucks now come standard with a 6-year drivetrain warranty, protecting your investment all the way from pistons to gears. Built to keep your business moving, supporting uptime, growth and daily operations, because although a lot can change in 6 years, their warranty promise won't. T's and C's apply. Hino, all the way.
The stage, the lights, the crowd, everything's perfect until suddenly someone slips on the dance floor. A speaker lands in the buffet. In an instant, your masterpiece is a mess. That's why Auto & General is there with Events Liability Insurance. We handle the unexpected so you don't have to. Plan the party, wow the guests, leave the rest to us. For more information on Events Liability Insurance, visit autogen.co.za. Auto & General, never not there. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
702. Stephen is on X.
At Stephen Grootes.
Well, still so many questions around whether or not we might be seeing a bubble in AI stocks. Isaac Oortendal is the chief investment strategist at Symmetry. Isaac, good evening. I mean, this question just won't go away. I understand there are a lot more searches on Google around it. Do you believe what we're seeing now in AI stocks is some of the hallmarks, at least, of a bubble?
Look, there certainly is a lot of enthusiasm for artificial intelligence. I think a lot of the sort of bubbly behavior is not necessarily in the public market or the stock market, but it's in the private markets. A lot of these companies are not listed out in Silicon Valley, and it's in the capex spending, where I think for me the big question is, right, because these companies are spending hundreds of billions of dollars, and that number is set to increase over time. So that is the big question: is will all that spending generate a return? And I think the concern is that perhaps it won't, but it's uncertain, because we are dealing here with a new technology. And I might add that in the past, over the last 100, 200 years, new technologies have tended to have these kind of bubble characteristics, because people do get very excited about, whether it's railways or cars or planes or whatever. And now with AI.
I mean, with railways could all link up and you could use them all together. With AI, it seems to me everyone's competing against each other. They want to be the one model that you use. They realize that that's changing. But isn't that one of the reasons there's so much money in it? People want to put their money in the model that'll win.
Yeah, it's definitely a race. It's a race to see who can be the biggest first. I mean, the railways, there was a lot of wasteful investment, especially in the US, UK, going back 150, 160, 70 years. It's only today that we can say the railway network is all nicely organized and so on. But there were periods where, you had sort of parallel lines competing with one another and so on. So yeah, again, that is part of the bubble behavior, is, as you say, everybody wants a piece of the action. Everybody's kind of throwing caution to the wind. And with AI, the promise is that, it's kind of winner takes all. The first company to develop a sort of a version of superintelligence is going to conquer everything, and therefore it is almost worth, as Sam Altman at OpenAI said, there's no amount of money I'm not prepared to spend to get there. Which is great for him, but ultimately he's spending other people's money And so I think that is where a lot of investors are a little bit nervous.
We've heard another view on the Money Show last week, that while these companies, and think of the sort of Magnificent Seven, while they do have very high valuations, they do have very high revenues as well. And that must be an important point in this. They are getting money in.
Yeah, so the obvious point of comparison, if you're going to talk about bubbles, is with the tech bubble of the late 1990s. And here the difference is that the big tech companies in the US, these are very profitable companies compared to late 1990s, where most of the tech plays were not. Of course, we don't know yet if the profitability is in AI. Right. So Microsoft is profitable in its cloud and its enterprise software, and Amazon, we know what Amazon does, we know what Google does, we know what Meta does. But is that artificial intelligence component of what they're doing generating enough profits to justify the investment? And I think that is where, again, case by case, yes, there are, I think Meta is one example where they do say, we're making, this is helping our business. The investment that we're doing is helping our business with AI. But in other cases, I think there is still a question mark around whether, AI will deliver the goods and all this spending will ultimately generate the return, bearing in mind that the rate at which these data centers can become obsolete is very, very fast, because they're relying on cutting edge chips, and these things, they do become obsolete within, a couple of years, compared to, again, the railway, which were the tracks that were laid during the bubbles were, they were still there 100 years later.
Isaac
and useful 100 years later.
Indeed. It was Isaac Odendaal. Really do appreciate the thoughts. Thank you, Chief Investment Strategist at Symmetry, a few seconds after 7 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Good evening, I'm Maki Malapo. Members of the ad hoc committee investigating police corruption have clashed over the Parapara robbery scandal and its inclusion in the discussions before the inquiry. The MK party had questioned Police Minister Senzo Mchunu about the classifying of the Independent Police Investigative Directorate's report into the robbery and whether he had any powers to declassify it. But other parties objected to the matter being discussed before the ad hoc committee, arguing that it's not part of the terms of reference and has nothing to do with Mchunu. Babala Ndenza has more.
KZN Provincial Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi earlier during his testimony raised concerns about Minister Senzo Mchunu's involvement in classifying as top secret the IPID's report on President Cyril Ramaphosa's Phala Phala farm scandal. The matter was brought up again today by the MK party's David Skosana, who asked Mchunu about why the report is classified. But ANC MP Kusela Sangoni Diko asked Mchunu whether the MK party should rather direct their question to IPID.
That if he is looking for information about an IPID report that does not investigate the president, despite his repeated assurances to that regard, he has to approach IPID for the classification of the report.
That's correct, Honorable. But Skosana says the matter is still relevant even before the ad hoc committee.
I don't belong to any factions. I know it's a very sensitive matter for the minister. And I feel pity for Honorable Sangwe, because we're still going to ask the minister here.
Mchunu says it was IPID who classified the Phala Phala report independent of the minister because there were other parallel investigations into the same matter. Babalo Ndenza, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
National Police Commissioner Fani Masemola says one of the major concerns in Westbury, Johannesburg, is how the frustrated community often resorts to revenge attacks instead of relying on court convictions for justice. Masemola was speaking at the Sophia Town Police Station earlier today, addressing ongoing drug and gang wars in the area after 7 teenagers were shot by 4 others yesterday. 2 teenagers died on the scene while 5 others sustained injuries. 1 teenager was discharged from hospital earlier today and 4 others are still receiving treatment at the Helen Joseph Hospital in Auckland Park. Tandoluhle Ngobo has more.
While residents of Westbury have raised concerns about poor policing in the area, National Police Commissioner Fani Masemola says investigations are hindered because community members are reluctant to come forward as witnesses.
One of the challenges, as I said yesterday, in this specific community is that people don't come forward in being witnesses.
He says this makes it hard to secure arrests and convictions.
If you were there when a crime has been committed, You are not a whistleblower or an informer. You are a witness. You have seen what happened. So you must be prepared to go court to court and give evidence.
He says sadly this has not been the case, adding that repeated appeals for community cooperation are aimed at achieving better results, including arrests and convictions, in the fight against crime in gang and drug-affected areas. Thando Ngcobo, Eyewitness News.
The former Finance General Manager at the Road Accident Fund has told Parliament's inquiry into financial maladministration that a battle over changing its accounting standard was aimed at improving its financial statements. Victor Songelwa, who's appearing as a witness before Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts, testified that by switching to an unsanctioned accounting standard which recognizes the fund as a social benefit scheme, the RAF was able to significantly reduce its liabilities on its balance sheet. The RAF has lost in its protracted court battle with the Auditor General for deviating from government's approved accounting practice known as GRAP, the Generally Recognized Accounting Practice. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
At the end of March 2020, the RAF's claims liability stood at 331 billion rand. Former finance manager Victor Songelwa said shifting to the IPSAS 42 accounting standard the following year reduced this figure to only around 27 billion rand. However, this did not offer a true reflection of all categories of claims in the various stages of consideration and processing.
All the claims where no offers have been made are not included in the liability of the RAF.
He added that the RAF was also motivated to change its accounting standard to obtain a bank loan of between 15 billion and 20 billion rand to help settle claims and prevent the attachment of assets.
So one would need good financials to present to a bank to raise funding.
Songelwa said although he knew this was not a Treasury-sanctioned accounting practice, he was powerless to do anything about it. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
And in France, the director of the Louvre has admitted that there was inadequate security camera coverage of the outside walls of the museum 3 days after a brazen daytime heist stunned the French capital. Senators grilled Laurence Descartes over how thieves were able to make off with an estimated $102 million in jewels at the weekend from the world-famous museum in just 7 minutes. The heist has renewed scrutiny of security at French museums. Descartes told lawmakers in a first public statement since Sunday that all alarms had functioned during the burglary, but admitted that security cameras did not adequately cover the thieves' point of entry. While she conceded that there are some perimeter cameras that are aging and that surveillance of the museum's outside walls is highly insufficient, she defended the museum's €80 million security plan, disputing a recent report that cited persistent delays in putting it into effect. Earlier today, French President Emmanuel Macron ordered speeding up security measures at the Louvre, but the Paris Museum reopened its doors to tourists. Descartes said she had tendered her resignation on Sunday after the theft, but that the Culture Ministry had refused it. Gold's trading at $4,047.96 an ounce. The rand's at 17.42 to the dollar, at 23.29 to the pound, at 20.24 to the euro. Brent crude oil's at $62.59 a barrel.
Well, at this stage, if you're heading into the Brakpan area leaving Boksburg, we still have those roadworks slowing down traffic. This is on the N17 eastbound between Rondebolt and Carnival City, while in the mother city, there's also slow-moving traffic. This is on the M3 southbound between Rhodes and Newlands, and also bumper-to-bumper traffic into outbound between Mowbray Main and Airport Approach.
A look at your weather. Clear skies in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Joburg will drop to overnight lows of 11 degrees and peak at highs of 27. Pretoria is at 13 and 28. Vereeniging at 11 and 27. A partly cloudy start for the mother city. Otherwise, it's clear skies with moderate northwesterly winds at a low of 17 and a high of 22 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. Members of the ad hoc committee investigating police corruption have clashed over the Parapara robbery scandal and its inclusion in the discussions before the inquiry.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA CIB, proud sponsor of the ABSA Africa Financial Markets Index 2025.
And now, The Money Show
with Stephen Grootes on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
9 minutes after 7. Good evening. Plenty to come in the next little while. We'll speak to Keegan DaCosta from Too Many Robots about why so many AI projects and businesses fail. Wendy Noli, your consumer ninja. FNB's e-bucks changes. I've seen so much discussion about that. People do seem to be quite angry. And don't forget your shapeshifter tonight. Melvin Lubega, the technology entrepreneur and investor. A really interesting person. He founded Go One. That's the online tech, the online educational training system, very, very popular. Lots going on. He's done all sorts of things. Really looking forward to Melvin Lubega as your shapeshifter in about 20 minutes from now.
Stephen Grootes
Taking your calls
on 011-883-0702.
Been talking about your latest interaction with government. Helen in Diepkloof, hi. How was it for you?
Hi, mine was the worst ever. I remember, the Home Affairs in Maponya.
Mm. Oh, yes, yeah.
You go there today, trust you me, you'll have to go there for the whole week seeking for one thing.
Sure.
You'll stand in the queue, the next thing, no one will tell you that that's the correct or incorrect queue. You'll only be told when you get to the front after having waited for over 2 hours or so. Sometimes it's like they will tell you we are offline.
Gee.
Or you know what? So the wait is quite very long, and it has been going on for the longest time I know. Whether it's time for school-going children there, the matriculants when they need because you obviously need an ID to can get to matric. You wait. Like you wait.
And is there corruption there too, Helen?
There's a lot of corruption there. I remember the one day that I went, there's a guy from same street as ours. He had his ID bent down. So I took him there for a new ID card besides the one that he was using was the green one, the old one. So we went there for a new one. We went there, we sat. We were told to go back to get an affidavit. Clearly, we had to go there for almost 3 days. Today it's this, tomorrow is that. And the one day when we eventually got into the offices inside, while we were still seated there was a guy who just came in. He just came in, given a number, and he went right in front and he left us there. He was gone, and you could see that there was just bribe happening there. So we still have that kind.
Helen, I'm really sorry to hear that. Helen in Diepkloof, thank you. The Maponya Mall Home Affairs. Let's see if we're able to maybe compile a few of these stories, because certainly something should be done. There's no reason why you need to have queues. And the idea of queuing and you're in the wrong queue, a sign, guys. That's always been my major criticism of government offices, is that things are not clearly signposted. And that's not rocket science or investing. Really easy to do.
The Money Show.
Business Unusual.
Well, lots of conversations around AI still, and some suggestions that, in fact, most AI projects in companies fail. Keegan DaCosta is an AI utilization specialist from Too Many Robots. They're a fractional AI agency. Keegan, good evening. Everyone's so excited about AI. Why are so many projects then failing?
Thanks, Stephen. Well, the biggest thing is the hype. Everyone's rushing in because of the pressure from competitors, from overseas markets, and everyone's rushing in just to implement something to say that they've done it, instead of taking their time and making sure that they are ready for it. They can see the potential, but they aren't ready for it. And I think that's the biggest problem, is making sure that everything, your house is clean, your house is in order, before rushing into a project and just going gung-ho.
I suppose people are also not thinking about which project to choose, right? They just throw AI at everything.
Yes, that's correct. And there's two main areas that businesses need to look at when deciding what is the right AI project. And the one is, what is the biggest area of frustration for our customers? I heard you saying something about home affairs, and long lines is a big sign of inefficiencies. If you know your business has long lines, or your customers aren't buying something quick enough, or there's frustrations, well, there's a direct place where you need to start implementing AI. And the same goes for your staff. If you know that your staff have got bottlenecks in certain workflows or processes, that's a clear indication on what project to choose. It's not about the sexy, flashy, fun things to implement in a business. It's about the functional stuff.
And I mean, also it's about just doing things better. If it's not going to improve your business, or if it's not going to improve your business that much, look at something else.
100%. I mean, at Too Many Robots, we live by that. It's not about making things quicker or easier, but making things better. It's, and we hear it from the Navy SEALs around the slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And that's just it. So don't rush into it because it's something that you should do, but it's something that you could do and make sure you're doing it for the right reasons.
How should businesses sort of prepare? I mean, I think a lot of people almost don't know where to start.
So the biggest thing is looking at your input. So looking at the data that you are using. We see it time and time again where you want to build this beautiful AI project or this beautiful AI model, but the data that you are putting into it is it's not in the right format. It's not in the right, it doesn't have the right hygiene. So before you start getting excited about that, businesses first need to figure out and make sure that their data is in a good way and that everything, basically that their house is clean when it comes to data, because any model that you're going to create relies on perfectly crafted data. So putting that in is only going to be the best first step for them.
And getting your workers ready. I mean, a lot of people are a bit nervous about AI. I mean, I think people are playing with it. Maybe encourage a period of play before you actually get down to it.
100%. A safe sandpit is the best way to start. So a walled off or a secure environment where there's no private information or no IP that can get leaked, and let your staff have fun. Create things that will make their day-to-day jobs, their tasks of creating an email or putting something in the cloud easier. And as soon as they see that, they start to believe it. And then from there, they can start imagining what possibilities are out there when it comes to serving their customers.
I mean, everyone talks about AI changing the world, and I think people are having an experience that maybe is not quite that.
100%. The expectation that a lot of people have when using AI, they have been sold this dream of this one-click wonder that, you put in this prompt and it solves everything. And unfortunately, that's how, OpenAI, Gemini have marketed these things to us. But there's actually a lot more of it that goes into it, and just spending the time and doing the due diligence and making sure that you're ready and understand it, then you'll start seeing the proper outcomes that you want. But it is no one-click wonder. There's a lot of snake oil out there that I think business owners should be worried about.
Indeed. Keegan DaCosta, thanks very much indeed. On Business Unusual tonight, the AI utilization specialist from Too Many Robots.
Beyond every boardroom is a story waiting to be written. A story of a business and its potential, of a community that thrives, a hospital that serves, and energy that powers millions of dreams. It's a story that only gets better with a partner that has the expertise and solutions to make it a reality. At ABSA CIB, we are invested in your story, and we invite you to write it with us, because your story matters. ABSA, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
What do partners of the Gates Foundation do when facing the world's toughest challenges? They keep going. From discovering a plastic drape that helps detect excessive postpartum bleeding faster, to developing better bed nets to kill malaria-carrying mosquitoes, to researching an RSV vaccine that could save hundreds of thousands of children. For every problem, there are people who prove that progress is possible. The Gates Foundation, partners of human potential. Learn more at gatesfoundation.org/keep going.
Andile here with more than just a betting app ad. Download the 10Bet app and enjoy the action of betting anytime, anywhere. It's more than just an app. It's a 10Bet experience. Join now at 10bet.co.za. 10Bet is a licensed betting operator and supports responsible gambling. No person under the age of 18 shall be permitted to bet. Betting can be addictive. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line is 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 071. 0800-666-510.
Flight Centre's big red sale is back. 21 October to 14 November. Save up to 50% on tours, 35% on cruises, and massive deals on Thailand, Mauritius, and the Maldives. Even local flights from 1,900 Rand return. Now that's a win. Plus, 2 kids stay and eat free on selected breaks. The world's waiting. The deals are calling. So, get to your nearest Flight Centre store today. T's and C's apply. Flight Centre, your centre for travel.
You can become a victim of a legal problem. Wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS Legal to 48721.
Changes to the eBucks program. It's a very long-running financial services program. They suddenly seem to make quite a lot of changes.
They did, and it's ruffling a lot of feathers, as you say. So they normally only make changes once a year, and then which happened a few months ago, and then suddenly a whole lot of new changes, which in retrospect wasn't a grand idea because it unsettled people, and there is a lot of complexity. And yeah, so a lot of people just feel that they are moving the goalpost too much, that the rewards are going to be harder to get kind of thing, and they've put a lot of hoops in the way. So long-time FNB client John Dubois was one of those that was definitely not impressed. He dissected the bank's new eBucks landscape with me in great detail, far more detail than we can deal with in this segment, Stephen. But in summary, he says, ultimately, a program that was once designed to reward smart financial behavior now risks penalizing customers who don't want to take on more products, more debt, or more risk in the form of credit. Maintaining rewards has been narrowed, made more complex, and increasingly tied to taking on additional FNB products, credit, insurance, and investments, he said. So, for example, to get the full travel discount, you have to take out car insurance with FNB. Here's how Jono put it.
FNB eBucks used to update their rules once a year in July, but this year they broke precedent with a second revision taking effect on November 1st. Customers who have long tolerated the annual shifting of goalposts took to social media to express their disapproval. FNB's response was to spin a narrative of adding value as though the bank is doing customers a favor. In reality, that value now only exists for the top reward tiers, which are unattainable without taking on extra products like insurance, investments, or adding debt through personal loans. That's not rewarding smart banking, it's incentivizing product uptake. The travel benefit, for example, is only improved if you also hold an FNB insurance product. That's a conditional upsell, not a customer benefit. 24-month device contracts were sold on the promise of eBucks rewards that made them affordable. Now that those rewards are out of reach, it feels like a bait-and-switch tactic. What's unacceptable is dressing up a cutback as a new value proposition while refusing to measure transparently once it's live. A program that once rewarded smart financial behavior now risks penalizing customers who don't take on more products, more debt, or more risk.
Sure, Jono is clearly not impressed. You can hear that. What did the eBucks people say?
Okay, so CEO Peter Woodhatch concedes, as I said, that introducing a whole lot of change mid-cycle, as they put it, when people aren't expecting any new change to come, wasn't the greatest idea, as a lot of people are unsettled. And yes, he said some people will move down a tier or two, and that's obviously not going to make them happy. He said, but eBucks has been purposefully evolving over the past 18 months to provide greater rewards, new products and services, and meaningful value to our customers. And this, I think, is important in fairness to say. They're not going to be investing less in eBucks. They're going to be investing more. So more of the bank's money is going to be going into providing these loyalty points, which also, in fairness, you have to say they're the only financial services loyalty program that's free. You don't have to pay in, as I do with my bank one, and their points never expire. But that doesn't take away from the fact that they've annoyed a lot of people, and a lot of people do feel that they're not going to get the same benefit as they did before, not without having to commit to a lot more FNB products. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like people have to do more. They have to commit more to get to the sort of top tiers of it. So I mean, what does that do if you take out life insurance or car insurance with FNB or a funeral policy? What does that do for banking behavior in FNB?
Well, that's the question, because it's not, it doesn't qualify, strictly speaking, as banking behavior. They call it integrating financial services, but in short, I think it's upselling, and there's no way around that. The integration means you take up more of their products to get what you want, and so for people, it's going to be a trade-off. How much do I want to get to the top tier? Peter Wood actually said to me when we spoke, people are obsessed with level 5. But there's a lot of value in the lower tiers as well. I don't know, those people who are going to drop tiers unless they commit more are not going to find that very soothing, because everyone wants to be at the top tier to get the best goodies, the best freebies. I think, Stephen, the issue with loyalty is yes, it's not an entitlement thing. A reward is not something you can make demands on, right? Because you're not actually spending. It's not covered by any regulations. But in the reality of the South African situation, for a lot of people, it is the difference who really work their rewards, whether they're retail or financial services or wherever they have signed up. It means the difference between making it to payday intact financially and not. So people do take them very, very seriously, and that puts a lot of responsibility on the companies that are offering them.
I'm very interested in why they decided to do such a big change kind of mid-cycle. You could have done it in a different way. You could have told people for the next 6 months change was coming. And I'm always interested when a company does something like this slightly unexpectedly.
Yeah, I just, it was communicated to me, and like we felt these things were very new and exciting, and we wanted to get them done, and we didn't want to wait. So if they've got this new payday thing that started, the first one was last Friday, there was huge uptake. So you get a whole lot of benefits and percentages back with their partners. I think it's also a case of, he spoke of, this is the CEO of eBucks, Peter Woodhatch, of they need to balance the table. So the table's got 3 legs: the bank, the customers, and then their partners, which are a huge part of this. So everybody's got to be happy. So they've got to balance this all, and I think it's difficult for all 3 to be happy at the same time. I just want to talk about one of their this is why Jono actually got hold of me, because I tweeted something about one of their travel benefits. So whereas in the past you would get the discount, but only on the fare part, not on the travel, on the airport taxes. So it's not the full benefit, Now it's on the full benefit, and you get to choose which airline, etc. There's a lot more flexibility. But to get that, up to 80% of your fare back at eBucks, you have to take out that insurance policy with F&B. So you got to, insure your car with them. So we'll give you this, but you got to give us that. As always, no free lunch.
And as always with loyalty programs, they can change the rules. That's their program.
They can. And I remember when they first started, I've been doing this long enough, when they started changing the rules around lounge access, more spend, less guests, that kind of thing. And people were furious. People don't like it and that's really the only time I hear from loyalty people, members, is when they feel that what they were getting before is now being diluted, and it's never going to track well.
Wendy Nola, our consumer ninja, thank you very much indeed. Really appreciate it.
Coming up,
The Aubrey Masango Show
on 702
and Cape Talk.
Aubrey, when Rotendo's not here, I feel like I have control of the studio once again.
He's a bit of a raucous, that one. Eh?
He is. We'll have to have a word.
Yeah,
what's coming up tonight?
So Dr. Frank Magwegwe starts us off in the first hour of the show, and we continue with our theme of mental health and money. And it's a series that we've been having, and we are celebrating National Mental Health Month, and we're talking about how caring for your money starts with caring for yourself. In the second hour of the show, we continue our conversations around the secrets that our rocks have, and we're going to be looking to the Freda Fort Dome, South Africa, the oldest and largest visible meteor impact crater in the world. And David van Wyk, independent research professional, is going to join us together with Stuart Clark, independent global consultant, and there are all sorts of fascinating stories associated with that, and we're going to be hearing about that in the weird and the wonderful. And then in the third hour, Stanley Beckett, author and consultant at Change Creator SA, talks about the mindset needed to actually get going. And he says, start now, but start small. And I heard you were talking about the same theme around the issue of AI initiations in companies. Just start, but start small and start carefully is what Stanley Beckett is talking about. And then, of course, in the final hour of the show, we open up the lines and it'll be an open line.
Aubrey Masango, thanks very much indeed. Yeah, very interesting just to hear what's coming up. And I mean, you forget sometimes how important some of what we have, the biggest comment creator, things like that, how important they actually are, how important they are to the rest of the world. Very, very interesting. We're speaking to Melvin Lobega. He is your shapeshifter in just a moment. Really interesting story. If you've ever used Go One, the big education, the online education platform, well, then you're using his brainchild. We'll hear from him in just a moment. Just gone 7:30. Marky, good evening. What's happening with these people in military uniforms?
Well, Stephen, the South African National Defence Force has distanced itself from a viral video showing individuals robbing civilians while dressed in military uniform. The force expressed concern over the rise in the use of combat attire to conduct criminal activities. According to the force, the clip shows a group of individuals terrorizing and stealing from community members in SANDF camouflage. SANDF spokesperson Prince Chabalala says the people in the video do not belong to the force, further urging citizens to avoid wearing camouflage as it is a registered item for authorized members.
Under the Defence Act 42 of 2002, Section 104, 5 and 6 stipulates that any person who, without authority, possesses or wears prescribed uniform, distinctive marks or crest, or performs any prohibited act whilst wearing such uniform is guilty of an offence, liable on conviction or fine or imprisonment.
Action SA has not ruled out the possibility of its leader Herman Mashaba being appointed as the party's mayoral candidate for the city of Johannesburg in the upcoming municipal elections. The party has announced it will open internal applications next week, allowing members to apply to become its mayoral candidate in the metro. There have been questions about whether Mashaba is willing to lead Action SA's campaign in Johannesburg following the DA's decision to field Helen Zille as its candidate. Action SA National Chairperson Michael Beaumont says while Mashaba has not yet decided if he will contest, he believes Mashaba is the best person for the position.
But ultimately it has to be an individual choice that he and his family will need to make. And ultimately we will just have to wait and see. Action SA is also not a party, though, that can only live and die on one particular leader, because competition is a good thing. There might be a number of young, bright, very capable people in Johannesburg who want to put their hands up and to compete, and we don't want to deny them that opportunity as well.
The annual consumer price inflation has slightly increased to 3.4% in September, up from 3.3% in the previous month. This marks the second highest inflation rate recorded this year, following the July peak of 3.5%. Statistics South Africa says the uptick was driven by higher prices in several categories, particularly transport as well as restaurants and accommodation. Stats SA Chief Director for Price Statistics, Patrick Kelly.
On the other hand, food and non-alcoholic beverages, alcoholic beverages and tobacco, and furnishings, household equipment, and routine maintenance recorded lower rates. Let's start with food and non-alcoholic beverages, which presented a mixed bag in September. Meat and maize meal inflation remained elevated, while price decreases were recorded for products such as milk, eggs, and rice.
And Norway says it will propose a UN General Assembly resolution demanding that Israel lift restrictions on aid to Palestinians. Oslo's foreign minister made the announcement today following an International Court of Justice ruling on the war, which Israel rejected as a political attempt to impose political measures against Israel under the guise of international law. The Scandinavian country initiated the UN resolution requesting an advisory opinion from the ICJ on Israel's obligations, and the court ruled today that Israel was obligated under international law to facilitate the delivery of aid to Gaza. Foreign Minister Espen Barth Aid told a press conference that no country can place itself above its obligations under international law, adding that this is essential both for Palestinians and for all other populations living in situations of war and conflict. The ministry later specified that Norway would file the resolution with several other countries to support the ICJ ruling and help make sure its opinion is followed with action. While non-binding, the ICJ believes its opinion carries great legal weight and moral authority. A look at your weather. Clear sunny skies, in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Temperatures will drop to overnight lows between 11 and 13 degrees and peak at highs of 27 and 28 degrees. A partly cloudy start for Cape Town. Otherwise, it's clear skies for the mother city with moderate northwesterly winds at a low of 17 and a high of 22 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News: the South African National Defence Force has distanced itself from a viral video showing individuals robbing civilians while dressed in military uniform.
I think the family needs a break. We've always wanted a holiday home. Maybe we should see what's out there. Imagine waking up to an ocean view in a beautiful villa.
With a big braai area and a spare room for in-family visits. If it's on your mind, it's on ours. Partner with a wealth banker will connect you to a home loan with up to prime minus 1.5%. See money differently. Nedbank Private Wealth. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Running a business is tough. You need tools that just work. That's why more South African businesses are switching to Mac. At iStore, we make it easy with 4,000 rands in added value when you switch. That's 3 years extended warranty and remote tech support, leaving you to focus on everything else. Switch to Mac with iStore, your expert partner. T's and C's apply. Mac at iStore. Run smooth as business should.
Turning 18 means we've been a part of some big moments in Sauda. Like the time when Edzoti won an Oscar and Cobrizi's vocab had us crying a river. We were there for all the drama, driving Mzansi forward with more motivation, more innovation and value. Celebrate 18 years of more with the Haval H6 from only $6,599 per month. Visit gwm.co.za for T's and C's and book a test drive. GWM. Go with more. Brought to you by GWM Finance, a division of Westbank, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
Time. When you're a kid, it moves slower than a sloth trying to get through airport security. There is just so much of it. Skip forward a few years to your 20s. Time is still your friend. It says have some balance. Go party and have fun. Then your 30s hit. And time suddenly steps on the accelerator like it's trying to catch a traffic light before it goes red. 40s. Now time is moving faster than your 10-year-old on a sugar high. 50. You're desperately trying to save as much as you can, but time is moving so fast. And all you can think is, where did all the time go? That's why after 50 years of investing, we've learned that time is the greatest gift of all. And the good news is, if you invest early, time gives you money. And then money gives you more time for some much-deserved you time. Now, isn't that a compelling enough reason to invest? Ellen Gray. Long-term investing. Ellen Gray is an authorized FSP.
The Money Show.
Shapeshifters.
23 minutes now to 8 o'clock. Well, I'm very pleased to tell you our shapeshifter tonight is the technology entrepreneur and investor, the person who founded Go1. If you've ever done any online training, you'll probably find that you are using Go1. Melvin Lubega. Melvin, good evening. So pleased that you're able to take some time and be our shapeshifter tonight.
No, really glad to be here and glad the audience could join us.
You started your entrepreneurial sort of life quite young. I read somewhere that you were running a tuck shop while you were still at school. You decided clearly that you were going to make some money on your own from a young age.
Yes, and your research is very good. I was fortunate to run the tuck shop. I think it was definitely before Uber Eats existed. Otherwise, I'd probably be taken out the market. But just to run a tuck shop to supplement my pocket money at the time.
Did you find that actually that was useful to learn things, or did you learn bad habits instead? And I mean, tuck shops, when you're younger, Melvin, can be very tempting for all sorts of reasons.
This is true. I think I was very fortunate that I may have stole my snackwich machine from home and I got the bread from the kitchen. And so my inputs were cheaper than they should have been. And so my profit margins were probably inflated. But I think the key insight from that was, I think, just the importance of meeting a need, because invariably after dinner and boarding school, people still wanted something sweet. And so being able to provide that was a unique opportunity. But I was very grateful to have the support of the boarding house master who kept me in business. So definitely learned a lot through that experience. But I think it came down to, how do you meet a latent need, even if it's not necessarily obvious, given that you just came from dinner?
You were actually at St. John's College in Joburg. I went to a great rival of yours up the road. And it seems, from what I could see, that was important in your life. You would have had to do quite a lot just to get there. But it does seem that actually that might have been an important experience for you.
Definitely. I think my experience at St. John's, and I was fortunate to attend St. John's on a scholarship for high school. My mother was a civil servant with the Department of Agriculture for 28 years. And driving to City Deep, she would pass St. John's every day and wish that, maybe one day one of her sons would attend such a school. And so very privileged to have the opportunity to attend the school. But I think to your point as well, I think St. John's was formative in, I think, creating the gentleman that I am today. By no means would I have turned out to be a recalcitrant, but I think definitely the foundations and the value of traditions and discipline. And also, I think being celebrated, even though, I was a bit academic, a bit sporty, but I wasn't a superstar at anything. I think it was a great environment for me to find my home and my tribe. And so today, very fortunate to serve on the council and give back to that community that's given a lot to me.
I mean, it's interesting. There does seem, and I speak to so many people in this time slot on a Wednesday, and it does seem that high school period seems to be so important. It's not quite make or break. For a lot of people, it's certainly make. You went to UCT, you studied actuarial science. Was it always going to be actuarial science for you? I mean, was there something about numbers and, I suppose, money that you found interesting?
I think like many of us, we find money interesting, but I think it's more the numbers part on the actual side of things. So I sometimes consider myself to be the black sheep of the family because I come from a long line of doctors, where my grandparents are doctors. My mother was a vet, father's a doctor, brother's a doctor. And so as a mister, I'm the black sheep. And so at some point I had my vision board of possibly going into medicine, but very grateful for my family for supporting me to go a different route and really doubling down in actual science. And for me, it was more so what I like about actual science was you were thinking about the future and using data to think about it. My thesis back then, which I think holds true now, was that if you had a model powerful enough and accurate enough, with the right kind of data, you could answer any question or predict anything. And I think where the world is now with AI, we're definitely getting there. And I found that actual science was the bedrock for my understanding of the world that we're in today when it comes to data.
You were also, if your LinkedIn profile is right, you were on the SRC at UCT. And I was interested in that because when I think of people who are on a Students' Representative Council, student politics, they're not often studying actuarial science, Melvin.
I think it's, look, I've been very fortunate in my life to, I think, find myself in great communities, whether that was at high school or university in my res at UCT, and even in today, the work that we do today. And so for me, being on the SRC was just a way in which I could continue to serve the community that was University of Cape Town campus. And so it was rare for an actual science student to be running for SRC. And I'm grateful for all the people that voted for me back then because my campaign was fun at best. And I think what was great, though, in that role was being able to bring my financial experience to the University Finance Committee and bring that lens to the SRC at the time. And was very fortunate to have a very complimentary SRC body at the time. But it was definitely different from what my other actual science students were doing at the time because those exams are not easy.
I mean, was there a lot of pressure for you to now just be the treasurer? I mean, I can just imagine the first meeting. I mean, every organization you join, they probably said you can be the treasurer.
So invariably, yes, but I think because we had such a diverse group of SRC members, I think there was a bit of balance. There were other commerce members as well in the SRC. And so luckily I was able I was vice president of the SRC at the time, and so was able to target both the policy and some of the finance elements. But I think I was fortunate back then, I think, to have a very supportive actuarial science faculty because they were able to understand that, like, whilst we were doing student governance, we also had to study. And so they gave me that balance.
You were at the Boston Consulting Group for a while. And I was trying to get the timeline right in my head because I can't imagine that there were many people at the Boston Consulting Group actually in the US who came from Africa. You must have been among the first.
Yes, and so when I joined the Boston Consulting Group, which is a management consulting firm, I was their first associate in Africa. And so when I joined, I think there were about 4 or 5 of us in a Regis office above Nelson Mandela Square, working out there. But it was to your point. So early in Africa, I remember being a good student in my final round interview. And, they say, what questions do you have for us? And you're like, I must ask about the culture. So, so tell me about the culture of the organization. And they were like, you met half the company today in this interview. So what do you think? And so you quickly realize that it was a global firm, but we had the opportunity to build what was the African culture, and it's gone from strength to strength. And so grateful for that foundation there, particularly because it helped me, I think, build out my business language and business thinking, which I think has put me in good stead since then.
I've spoken to a few people who are alumni of McKinsey, and of course their name is kind of mud at the moment in South Africa, along with Bain and Co. And Boston escaped all of that. And I mean, I sometimes wonder if there was something intrinsic to the McKinsey business model that maybe Boston didn't have.
Look, for my sins, I left before I was able to get to the level where we're making those kind of decisions. But in my experience across business, often it's individuals. And unfortunately, if there are thousands of partners of these firms around the world, all it takes is one bad partner to put together a bad project for a client and it takes the whole name of the brand. And that's I guess, the curse of these big brand organizations. But I mean, like, for the eons of history, I mean, so Bain was actually born out of BCG, Bruce Hedison being the founder of BCG. And so you find that across Bain, BCG, and McKinsey, very much the same approach and schooling, but I think it comes down to the cultural nuances, which are often defined by the partners of the firm in that country. And so it's one of those things where I think everyone has their time, but I think it's always an opportunity to rebuild the brand and the culture of any organization.
You spent some time at Oxford. You won a scholarship, still known often as the Rhodes Scholarships. I thought they'd changed their names to the Rhodes Mandela Scholarship. Maybe I got that wrong. I know, I mean, the people I've spoken to and met over the years and had the privilege of knowing who won Rhodes Scholarships have often spoken about Oxford being a place where you could meet a kind of different group of people from all over the world, and people who often quite young, but were one day going to be leaders in their communities from different parts of the world. I've always thought that must be very, very enlivening, very interesting, and maybe quite challenging too, because you have to up the competition a little bit.
No, I think, so it's different things. I think South Africans definitely rise to the occasion wherever they find themselves in the world. And you're right. So there's the Mandela Rhodes Scholarship, which typically covers postgraduate study in South Africa. Then there's a Rhodes Scholarship, which then links directly to Oxford. I was fortunate to win the Rhodes Scholarship. And I think your point's right around just the diversity that one is exposed to. And I think also, iron sharpening iron. I recall, so I did 2 masters. First one was in public policy. The second one was in technology. And I focused on education and learning. And in my first master's, there must have been 64 of us in the class and about 36 nationalities. Sure. And just the diversity, and everyone is smart, everyone got distinctions in their undergrad and so forth. But I think it just almost created a richer learning environment. I definitely feel that Oxford, I mean, being the age that it is, I mean, my college is turning 700 years old next year, actually.
Wow.
And it's a middle-aged college at Oxford. And so just to appreciate that certain countries haven't been in existence for that long. And so there's a level of deference. But that being said, there's Rhodes House, which is where the home of the Rhodes Scholarship in Oxford, and was built by or designed by Sir Herbert Baker, who also did the Union Buildings and also St. John's. And people often discount that, such beautiful buildings can be found also back home in Africa. And so when I say, well, all this reminds me of my high school, my university, like, no, Marvin, you come from Africa. And I think it was a unique opportunity to not only learn from others, but also, I guess, educate others on what South Africa is and Africa more broadly.
I think where you've probably had the biggest impact for so many people has been in Go One, the big online training platform. This was it 2014, long before the pandemic. What were you thinking of when you were beginning that? I mean, now it's kind of normal. You must have played a big role, and Go One must have played a big role in creating that normal.
No, it's so true. I mean, back then when you're trying to convince a company to do online learning, when everyone wanted to get a per diem to go to a conference, or they wanted everything on-prem versus in the cloud, it was a different time, to your point. But I think the mission for us and my partners in Go One has always been, how do we help people unlock their positive potential, and ultimately through a love for learning? Because my experience, all of us as co-founders had different exposures into the business, was one where I was early on, out of at UCT, as one gets bored in Finance 1. And I think I just met Alan Gray of Alan Gray Limited. I was fortunate to be an Alan Gray fellow on the scholarship there, and trying to think about investing. And so, long story short, we began in a small investment club using our life savings, which wasn't much at the time. And one of the early companies we invested in back then was a payments company in South Africa called Yoko. And speaking to the founders of Yoko back then, their biggest concern was how do they find people with the right kind of skills to work in their company? Because many of them came from investment banking, consulting, and so forth. But how do you upskill people? And they said, like, look, we actually can't afford to get that right. Yet, as a management consultant, many of the things we were supporting our clients with back then were often a result of human capital and how can you better invest in your staff? And if you did so, you could have addressed the issue. And so it was an interesting one for me thinking about Go One, where small companies can't afford to get their skilling right, but many big companies couldn't get it right with all the money in the world. And so that's where, when I did my second master's and focused on technology, particularly learning, it was trying to think through how does one think about learning in a professional setting differently. And so that was really our premise. But to be honest, back then, our first entry point was trying to transform a learning system versus actual learning content. So just for context, what Go One today is the world's largest online professional learning and corporate training ecosystem where we aggregate learning content. So think of courses, summaries, Blinkist, Harvard, edX, Coursera, all those players into one subscription, and then offer that to organizations across 60 countries. And now we acquired a company in Germany called Blinkist. So we do also over 20 million consumers directly. But in that particular journey, we never knew we were going to end up there, but our mission was always the same. And so it was more the experiences of us founders that led to Go One, but ultimately it was a journey to go from, I guess, our learning platform, call it a bookshelf, to actually offering the content, a la the books that enable that learning.
I have so many more questions about this. Melvin Lubega, the technology entrepreneur and investor, the co-founder of Go One. He's done other things in his life as well, as you can hear. He is your shapeshifter tonight. It's 10 minutes to 8.
Change will give you blisters. You can wear it in, or it can wear you down. It's exhausting, uncomfortable, pushy. Change is work. Change is motivating. Change is ambitious. Change is the finish line that always moves. Change is opportunity. We're ready to chase it. For over 3 decades, we have been committed to seeking out the best investment opportunities for you, wherever they may be. 91. Investing for a world of change. 91 is an authorized FSP.
To sell or not to sell? That is the question. Whether selling a car, bike, boat or bakkie, We Buy Cars offers instant payment and a stress-free experience. Simply complete the form on webuycars.co.za for the best offer. Trading in or shopping for your next ride? Explore 12,000 plus vehicles online or visit We Buy Cars in store. Whether buying or selling, head to We Buy Cars today.
Medical care, like music, needs continuity. A steady rhythm and pattern. Patients attended to on time. Medication taken as prescribed. Cut the rhythm and it falls apart. Right now, global funding cuts are restricting access to healthcare. With your support, Doctors Without Borders can continue to provide medical care to communities worldwide. Because medicine, like music, only works when uninterrupted. Doctors Without Borders. We go there.
Dreaming of a tropical escape? World Leisure Holidays has your ticket to paradise with exclusive getaways to the Indian Ocean Islands. From the beaches of Mauritius and the Maldives to the charm of Madagascar, Seychelles, Zanzibar and more, your dream destination awaits. Take advantage of early bird specials and pay stay offers. Call 011-285-2500 and mention 702 for a mystery discount. Or follow us on social media or contact your nearest travel professional. Start planning your escape today. T's and C's apply.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA CIB, proud sponsor of the ABSA Africa Financial Markets Index 2025.
The Money Show.
Shapeshifters.
Melvin Lubega, the technology entrepreneur and investor, co-founder of Go One, your shapeshifter tonight. Melvin, it seems so obvious now that sort of online training, online education is the way to go. Was it that obvious when you were explaining it to people back then, back in 2014?
It wasn't. I think most organizations realize that their people are their most important asset. I think the key thing is how best do they invest in them. And I think at that point in time, online wasn't seen as a method. Yet when you think about it, most people, if you ask them when they did a course, the last they did a course. Often it wasn't a course they did, they saw an article, they watched a video online. And so it was definitely a lot difficult back then, especially when you're doing more B2B sales in online.
Mm. And you look at it now. I mean, is it a mature market now, or is there still a lot of room for growth, do you think? I mean, I think a lot of stuff happens online. People obviously do value the in-person experience. We can see that. Do you think there's still a lot more space?
Definitely. I think so Go One is fortunate to have had a very strong momentum in its growth, and I still think we're a startup. I think there's so much exposure to think through, especially now when you think about AI and digitization of certain businesses and economies. There's so much reskilling and upskilling that needs to take place. The question, how you do it, what you need to learn, is so front of mind right now. I think arguably more than ever. I think the opportunities for companies to really understand the context and the outcomes particularly well, and there's lots of value to be created in that space.
Mm. The move to Briga, what informed that change? You're trying to help startups, as I understand it. You're trying to get companies going. You're trying to scale them up.
Exactly that. And so Briga is an the investment manager, so venture capital firms who invest in early stage technology companies across Europe and Africa. And it's really born out of my experience as an entrepreneur. So in our time building Go One, we had the privilege of partnering with a number of tier one investors globally, from Microsoft Ventures, Salesforce Ventures, SoftBank, Madrona, and many others. And ultimately, initially I struggled to find African investors to invest in our company early on, and now we're fortunate that Endeavor, which is a local ecosystem formed by entrepreneurs, supported us in our D round. But early on, it was fairly difficult to get African investors. And so my premise for becoming an investor was really, I want to be the investor I wish I had when I was building my businesses. That level of empathy and understanding of the market and of the journey that one goes on. And so that's really what we try to do at Briga, is how do we back, ambitious entrepreneurs that are building category defining businesses?
Mm. This is a sort of slightly different question. Okay. Melvin, you've done many things. You've done many interesting things. I mean, from managing to get very low cost inputs in the tuck shop to what you've done since then. What do you see your purpose is as now? I mean, clearly education matters to you. You wouldn't have done a master's degree in it if it wasn't. Clearly technology matters. Clearly trying to help smaller businesses to scale up matters. I mean, what do you see your purpose as? I mean, I don't know if you've ever stopped to try and put it into words. A lot of people don't. They kind of know what it is. Is there a particular purpose that you see yourself having?
So in my life, I've been incredibly blessed, as you mentioned, with incredible opportunities and I think different experiences on that journey. But my professional goal in my lifetime is to create 100,000 sustainable jobs. And no one's ever created 100,000 jobs and been poor. But I think that's the scale of impact I would like to have. And so I found, both through the work that we've done at Go One and through to our investing, the work that we do today in the government, I think the thread has always been, how do we do things at scale? And I'm very passionate about solving problems with technology, and technology is almost that lever that I am using to achieve that. People often argue that in the world of AI, creating jobs is a lot more difficult, but I think it does call us to a higher level of what a sustainable job looks like. And so for me, that would be my North Star when I think about the work that I do day to day.
That's a really interesting way of putting it. 100,000 jobs. That's changing a huge number of lives. It really is. Melvin, we're coming to the end. I do need to ask you what you do for fun. And there's a sort of rule to this thing. Is you're not allowed to say spend time with your family and jogging. You can say cycling if you like. But so many people have given us that answer that we've just had to declare it a rule. So apart from, watching St. John's lose rugby matches, what do you do for fun?
If only that ever happened. So two things. I think I was a Boy Scout for many years, growing up with my brother. That's something, and we share a passion for the outdoors. And so I love being in the outdoors and hiking. And so I was fortunate to run the Cape Town Trail Marathon on Saturday before the main race got cancelled on Sunday over the weekend. So still enjoy spending time in the outdoors. And something which I enjoy doing wherever I'm in the world is actually reading biographies. I really like reading biographies of other people who have achieved well in their lives, or captains of industries, or defined spaces, because I think there's so much one can learn from other people, and I really appreciate and enjoy doing so.
Yeah, there's something about biographies. I keep coming back to biographies myself, actually, and I've found that you learn more about life from a biography than almost any other kind of book. I mean, there's certain incidents that you need to read. Is there something about that sort of story of a life that's so interesting for you?
Exactly that. And I think it's also the tapestry of one's life. I think often we romanticize the journey, like, oh no, of course, Marwan went to St. John's and then he went this and he bought that company and it's a unicorn, $1 billion. I think there's often that nuance we take for granted. And I think often I find biographies, particularly written often at the end of one's life, give you that nuance. And I'm very much about paying school fees, but I want to make new mistakes. And so that's the key emphasis for my learning.
Melvin, I really appreciate the time. Thank you so much. Thanks for telling us your story. I found it really very interesting, and I think many people will have found it very inspiring as well. Melvin Lubega, your shapeshifter tonight, the technology entrepreneur and investor.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA CIB, proud sponsor of the ABSA Africa Financial Markets Index 2025.
Markets turning negative in the US tonight. The Dow Jones down 0.86%. The Nasdaq down nearly 1.5%. The S&P 500 down 0.84%. And obviously, gold is still not doing very well, which is one of the main issues. And then, of course, we've also got concerns around trade. Reuters leading with a story saying that the Trump administration wants to curb an array of software-powered exports to China. In other words, goods like American jet engines designed with American software would not be allowed to be exported to China. You can imagine what that is going to do to trade tensions. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Good evening. It's 8 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Good evening. I'm Mikey Malapo. The Jacob Zuma Foundation says it is awaiting a briefing from the former president's legal team following a court ruling ordering him to repay the state nearly 29 million rand in legal fees. Zuma suffered a setback in the Gauteng High Court today after it ruled that he is personally liable for legal expenses in the long-running arms deal corruption case. Zuma had argued the state was justified in footing his legal bill because the corruption charges arose from actions performed in his capacity as a government official. Mushana has more.
In 2021, the Supreme Court of Appeal ruled that the state attorney's payments covering former President Jacob Zuma's legal fees were unlawful. The court found that the state attorney's mandate is to act on behalf of the government and not to fund the private defense of an individual. Zuma argued in the High Court that the Supreme Court of Appeal did not the funds. However, the High Court today ruled that Zuma must indeed reimburse the state. DA spokesperson Vili stated that he should personally repay the funds. However, the High Court today ruled that Zuma must indeed reimburse the state. DA spokesperson Vili Okamp says Zuma must comply with the judgment.
Since 2018, Mr. Zuma has evaded repaying millions in legal fees that the state should not have paid on his behalf in the first place. Mr. Zuma has benefited from this 28.9 million rand in taxpayer money over the past 7 years.
The Jacob Zuma Foundation says it will comment after receiving a briefing from his legal team. Alpha Ramsh.